Hello, welcome to the channel. So I watched Mushoku Tensei about 2-3 months ago, something like that. And I've been thinking about making a review for a while now. So I also kind of want to see where like other YouTubers' heads are at in terms of this show, since it's an isekai and we've seen like a bajillion of those already. But as if you've probably seen it, watched the show already, this show is is different. It's a different isekai. So, uh, PhenomSage, you just happen to be the chosen one, my guy. Like I just happened to choose your video out of others. I didn't really want to choose like a bigger YouTuber with like hundreds of thousands of views reviewing this anime, but I just happened to. So that's why I chose you, cause you have like crazy. You're you're like 100 times bigger than me, of course, but like yeah, I didn't want to go for like 100 views or 500k and be like, and then get like a tag saying, oh, uh bigger YouTuber, you're just feeding off of them. But yeah, I just want to see what at least one person's head is at about the show, so that's why I'm reacting to your video. So yeah, let's get into it.
From the outset, Mushoku Tensei sets itself apart through its pacing, through the way that you learn about the world, through the way you learn about its characters, and through how little actually happens within its first 4 episodes, and even.
Well, I can't really say a little happened in the first 4 episodes. Like, he literally started learning magic and all that. Like, it's not like he was just there doing nothing, just doing baby stuff. But I see what you're saying, though. It's not like, oh, crazy plot, family gets murdered and like the demon king shows up and stuff like that. There's none of that. But it was, what made it interesting was as he was learning, we were like learning about the world too. So like as he grows and step by step learn more, we get the experience of learning more of what the world is about and things of that nature. But yeah,
The world building in this series is excellent, by the way. It's natural, it's grounded, it's diegetic, it never feels like characters are reading you exposition, and I know some people may want that. There's been cut information, there's little details that didn't
that's a fact though. The world is so good, like, because they always mention, like, there's always a conversation where they mention a bit about the world, and then episodes later they enter that part of the world. So like, man, I forgot, it's been a while since I watched part one. But like, the green hair guy, or I think it's green, something like that. When they first mentioned him, it was like back in episode 3 or something like that, or maybe 4. And then they introduced him like in episode like 9 or something like that. 9, 8. And I think it was 8 something. And like, there's always like conversations that mention other parts of the world, and then they introduce those parts. So that's why it feels so natural and like part of the story, because it's like already been hinted already, if you know what I'm saying. So that's what I really like about it. I definitely prefer when there's less exposition and more of a show than tell, and or like at least have it flow, you know what I'm saying? Like at least like have it where if you're gonna explain something, just and tell something about a certain part of the world, just at least have it where they're telling it to somebody else who doesn't know anything, so that it feels more natural. They explaining to a character, so it basically explaining to us too at the same time, so it feels more natural that way.
translate from the novel to the anime, but in my opinion, the way information has been communicated here feels a lot more cohesive and a lot more interesting than just hearing somebody explain a bunch of meandering details. The slower, more natural pace works to its advantage and also makes some episodes like Turning Point 1 or even the finale feel so much more important when the rest of the series is generally focused on these smaller stories of the mundanities of life and the characterization of its cast. The problem is Rudius, and it's Paul, and it's Eris's father. Pretty much every male in the series, actually, other than Rui Jared, is kind of a piece of shit in their own way, and it takes really getting into a specific mindset to really appreciate how the flaws of these characters are written and how they're tied into the story. One common theme throughout all of...
I really like, nah. To be honest, the characters is amazing. Cause like, no matter what, you can obviously see the flaw in like basically every character. You know, it feel more realistic. You know, you don't feel like anybody is like purely good and like it's just like the perfect person. Like you could easily tell that there's obviously they have their downsides and they have many benefits and downsides to their character. So they feel a lot more real, and that's what I really like about this show. Like there's no like clear cut good pure-hearted characters, and then there's not really like clear-cut. I guess there probably is some like just bad characters, but you know what I'm saying. It's in terms of like the good characters. They're not like clear-cut, and it's not like they're just pure. Like they obviously have weaknesses. They obviously have their downfalls. They obviously have bad traits, that they portray, and like it's habits and stuff like that. And I'm guessing as the story continues and progresses, they show them, I guess, develop and go through those bad habits and traits of theirs, and trying to improve them. So yeah, that's what I really like about it. Like the characters themselves, they're more human than a lot of other shows, so nice thing to add, right?
Part 1 so far is that characters aren't necessarily who they appear to be on the surface, and this is intrinsically tied to the flaws that Rudius and the other characters have. They have terrible aspects to their personality, they've done terrible things, but that doesn't make them terrible people. The entire driving force of the series so far is Rudius getting a second chance at life with the goal of really leading a fulfilling one that he didn't in the real world. There's a lot of resonant, impactful stuff here told through these flaws that I think elevate these characters like Rudius or Paul in a way where I wouldn't just dismiss them as unlikable assholes. They are likable, they are caring, they're charismatic, they're fun. It's a little something we like to call in the real world an actual human being. However, it's hard to talk about Mushoku Tensei without talking about its production. You could be a completely normal person who has no interest in animation, or you could be the biggest Sakuga nerd ever. It doesn't matter. The sheer level of effort, talent, passion, and ambition essentially flies off the screen when you are watching Mushoku Tensei, and I think it's something that anybody can notice. It gives the world and the story a level of immersion that you just can't really find in any other isekai series. It's easy to look at this and just say, yeah, it looks good, but there are so many different aspects to the production that prop up how you get invested in what's going on.
Does anyone else feel like the animation is like, to me it reminds me of Tower of Gods? I hope I'm not the only one who thinks that, but it definitely gives me that type of vibe in terms of animation. That's the only similarity I've seen between the two. Yeah, gives me that type of vibe in terms of animation. Anyone else think that way? Maybe it's just me. We'll see.
Overall, Mushoku Tensei Part 1 is an understated, slow-paced introduction to what I can only assume will be a much grander, climactic, epic experience. And yes, I know the word epic doesn't have any sense of legitimacy anymore, but I genuinely can't think of any other word to describe what they're setting up here. Assuming we continue getting more seasons with this level of quality all the way to the end, this really does feel like a Lord of the Rings tier fantasy epic in the making. I'm extremely excited for part 2, and if you're excited for part 2 as well and want to hear my thoughts on each episode every single week, you're in luck because by the time this is uploaded, my review for part 2, episode 1 will be out, and the journey will continue again. Link is in the description.
Yeah, I'm very excited for part 2. I think part 2, the first episode came out already, or maybe second came out already. But yeah, usually I wait for like the season to end before I start watching it, so might be a while until I actually like binge watch it. But yeah, I can't wait.